back in 1987, so he hasn't put on that much. He's kept himself in reasonable shape, Bugner, but Bonecrusher Smith always had a bit of power and could be dangerous early. Having said that, Bugner has always been Mr. Durability and defensive know-how. Oh, he's caught with a right hand there, though. And Bonecrusher Smith going for this in the early rounds. Maybe he thinks this is his only chance, and he certainly caught Bugner with a couple. Goodness me.
Because it looks like he feels that he has to try and overwhelm Bugner right from the start. He's known as something of a fast starter, Smith. And I think that's what he's trying to do. He knows that Bugner's very cagey, very good defensively, so he'll want to start very early.
Let him go, Joe. Step back. Step back.
93 years of age between them, these two. We do seem to have a kind of geriatric tour going these days in professional boxing. Talk of George Foreman v. Larry Holmes, with the two of them getting $14 million between them being lined up. Incredible to think that Bugner was 21 when he had that highly controversial and debatable win over Henry Cooper in what turned out to be Henry's last fight. And they're still arguing about that one even now.
Bugner just trying to get his jab working, known for a very good jab over the years, and that's what he's got to get working right from the start.
Bugner, who twice went the distance with Muhammad Ali, once in a world title fight in Kuala Lumpur, when, to be honest with you, Bugner was dreadfully negative, but could you really blame him with that kind of talent? He also put up a very, very good fight at Earl's Court in London against Joe Frazier back in '73. Now, big opening blitz from Bonecrusher, but as I rather suspected, he hasn't been able to sustain it.
It was a good first 30 seconds from Bonecrusher, but he really had to keep that sort of pressure on to try and get through to Bugner.
Last quarter of a minute of the round, and Bonecrusher Smith's weight, by the way, at 20 stone 2 pounds. When he fought against Frank Bruno, he was 16 stone 7. He's put on nearly 4 stone, but he may have won that opening round on that opening burst. Welcome back. Now there's a problem with Bonecrusher Smith, we believe, in the other corner, possibly with his shoulder. He's been giving out distress signals, and I just wonder whether this is going to be able to go on.
Because he just looked to be having some problem with his arm. There's the good start from Smith, and a big right hand.
Oh, he's in some pain here. I think they might have to call this off. There's a timeout. Now, what is the problem with that right arm?
Come here. Doctor.
The doctor's going to have a look at this, and I'd be surprised if he could go on. Crowd won't be happy if it's all over after one round, after all the build-up they've given this in Australia.
Well, there does look to be some problem. It could be a dislocation there, because there seems to be a lump on the top of the shoulder.
I have never seen this with them trying to do the job. They're trying to put it back in right here and there, aren't they? He's not going to fight on after this, is he? He's not going to be allowed to, surely.
Well, you wouldn't think so. I mean, that is quite an injury to have a dislocation, and to literally try and put it back in the ring is really something else. You can see there the bone sticking out of the shoulder. That really must be in some pain there.
It is over after one round, and Joe Bugner has a bloodless victory. Well, what an unsatisfactory affair that was. And Bonecrusher Smith, who hit Bugner with some good shots in the opening half a minute or so, cannot go on. And a fight that many people thought was something of a farce and a freak show beforehand ends in, well, what can you say, a very, very unsatisfactory way. Not Bugner's fault, of course, but he is now going to be going around telling everybody that he's won a World Heavyweight Championship. No one else in the world will really believe that. It's like saying that Iran are playing Costa Rica in a World Cup final.
So really very, very unfortunate.
Bonecrusher Smith was unable to come out for the second round, which deems the winner of this contest and new WBF heavyweight champion of the world, Aussie Joe Bugner.
Well, there's a strong element of farce in all of this, isn't there?
Well, there really is. I mean, there's nothing that can be done. It was a bona fide injury. We could see it for ourselves, but it does all become a little bit of a farce.
It was the last thing, really, the promoters needed. It's such an easy match to deride in the first place. The injury, has to be said, looks genuine enough.
Firstly, Joe, let's just talk to our heavyweight champion. Being congratulated by quite a few people in the ring. Joe, congratulations. Probably not ending the way you expected it to end, but congratulations. You are the heavyweight champion of the world for the WBF.
I am very, very sorry for my mere games here, because I really wanted to do a good fight. I'm just sad that Bonecrusher hurt his shoulder or whatever happened. But I tell you what, we are the first heavyweight champion of Australia ever. And I'm very proud of all of you for being here today. Thank you for coming. I'm very proud of all of you. Thank you.
We're very proud of you too, Joe. Just before you go, the first round, obviously, that's the only way we can gauge how this fight was going, but how did you think it was going?
Well, James caught me with some real big override handers, which did sort of sting me quite a bit because I wasn't prepared for that. I wanted to jab and move, but then I caught him with a very good body shot, and I think I may have caught him with a pretty good one to the head. Anyway, he couldn't carry on, so that was it. It was a big surprise for me because I really was prepared to go 12 rounds with him.
Joe, you've got a capacity house here at Carrara. They're all behind you. Congratulations to you for being the new champion.
Thank you very much, and I really want to sincerely mean this. I'm so proud of to be an Australian that I want to dedicate this fight to my two sons who have come over from England for this special occasion, Joseph and James. He's the junior, that's why. So this fight is for my two sons. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Bonecrusher, that didn't end the way you expected. Your shoulder looked dreadful.
Yeah, I threw it right out in the first round there. I hit Joe with some couple good shots on the top, and I guess I just threw it out.
So Bonecrusher, it came out while you were throwing a punch, is that right?
Yeah. I hit him good with it over the top, and I'd love to come back and do a rematch maybe in October.
Bonecrusher Smith, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the WBF
I'm not sure whether anybody else would pay to see a rematch of that. It's a hollow victory, but I mean, there's been horrible talk of even Tyson's comeback fight if he gets his license back being against Bugner. That would be a terrible thing. I think they should stay with the seniors tour, but Bugner has won here, albeit in an unsatisfactory way.
Well, that really was a very unsatisfactory way for that fight to end. Sadly, we sort of half expected something like that might have happened. But there is some pretty good action still to come on this programme. Lots of outstanding action, including a cruiserweight title bout between Peter Kinsella and Adrian Bellin. And that's all coming up in a couple of minutes from now. Stay with us.
Very disappointing, very unconvincing, and I think when Joe actually sits down and looks at it himself, he'll realise that it was a little farcical, the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, what it has is convinced me why these guys shouldn't be allowed to box at a certain age. You know, obviously Bonecrusher gave it a big go at the start, tried his best, but in the process dislocated his shoulder, was totally out of condition, weighed 20 stone 2, and you know, at his age of 45 he's lost all desire and dedication as well. It was unfortunately a little farcical at the end of it all.
Ernie, did you think it was farcical? Do you think that Bonecrusher was too heavy? Is that one reason why he dislocated the shoulder?
Yeah, definitely too heavy and not being active like he should have been over the last few years. Definitely hurt him. The weight, I felt that 3 or 4 pounds, that the weight would slow him down. So just having it earlier than 3 or 4 pounds.
But he made a good start, didn't he? I mean, just for 10, 15 seconds, it looked ominous for Joe.
Well, you go out there and throw a lot of punches and hope you get a good one in and try to put fear in the guy's heart.
But he wasn't lucky enough. Barry, let's go back then to these critical seconds in that first round.
Yeah, well, he started off terrifically well, Bonecrusher, landed a couple of really solid right hands. You know, as Ernie said, he was loading up at the beginning, he was relying on an early finish to the fight and putting all his 20 stone behind these punches. And he had Joe in dire straits. It looked at that stage like Joe mightn't get through the first round. But then we see about a minute later where he actually missed with this right hand and he hit him on the shoulder actually, he was off balance. But look where he actually grimaces there, and you can see where he's now beginning to drop the hand and just complain. And then when the doctor, I mean, that was ridiculous. The doctor at ringside trying to put it, he didn't even do it the right way. What they done very shortly afterwards, they lay him down and they put it back into place again properly. But you know, this is silly. I wouldn't like that doctor looking after me, I can tell you about that.
But Barry, what's the point of doing that? Because surely you couldn't allow him to fight on after he'd had that done anyway.
Well, I don't agree with it entirely. I don't think he would have been able to carry on. If the first time he'd have thrown a right hand after that, he would have dislocated it again, I'm sure. But I just think, as I say, the whole thing ended up a bit of a farce, really.
Now, we heard there Joe saying possibly a rematch. Now, we've got to look very quizzically at that, haven't we?
I don't think anybody, you could even hear the crowd, his own supporters complaining and moaning about it. Nobody would pay to see that again. And if Bonecrusher whipped himself into shape and trained a little bit harder, he could certainly give Joe a difficult night's work, but not 20 stone weight. He's got to do something. He was sweating profusely before the fight or a punch was even thrown. He's got to do something about his condition if he really seriously wants to consider continuing in boxing.
Ernie, what do you think the future now holds for Bonecrusher? Has he got to just call it a day and forget it and retire?
Oh, yes, I think so. He should retire now. At the age is 9 and weight, he should give, unless he's going to spend a lot of time in the gym next year or so. Other than that, I think he should hang it up.
The difference with guys that are old, Dave, is that they take an awful lot longer to get into shape. It takes them, I mean, looking at Foreman used to spend 30 minutes on the bag, you know, working his way up into a sweat and training himself. To break himself down, his metabolism slows down, the body fat gets more, and you know, the muscle starts to diminish as well. So they really have to work a great deal harder to get into shape. And you can see with Bugner, and in all fairness to Bugner, it wasn't his fault. He did train hard, he got himself into shape, but really the problem lay with Bonecrusher. He was relying on a big start and a big finish, hopefully early on. If he didn't, he was going to be subdued and beaten into submission himself, and unfortunately he dislocated the shoulder.
Boys, thank you very much indeed for the moment. More